Ed, obviously you've been around the Cleveland scene a long time and played in so many different bands, and each one of those bands that you've participated in have a lot of different styles to them. Sometimes certain players get pigeonholed into certain styles of music, but you seem to have really branched out all over the place, playing anywhere from, harder core stuff to doom rock to, classic rock or classic metal, So where does your interest lie when, say, an opportunity pops up into a band that isn't maybe something that is maybe your favorite style, and you go, yeah, I'll do that?
Well, I got to make sure I like the band. I mean, I just don't play with them just to play with them. I listen to a lot of different styles of music, so I'm able to adapt. But it's just like, I have to like the band in order for me to do it.
As guys or as music?
Both.
Okay.
It has to be both. I mean, because you spend a lot of time with those people.
Right.
You got to like each other somewhat.
Sure. No, you're right. I know our friend Mike was asking you before, and he made such a great point. How do you remember? I mean, how do you go from a Ringworm gig to a Maiden Voyage gig and not be like,
I don't know. It's not really that hard for me. It's not really a memory thing. It's just it's like I got it playing in my head all the time.
Right.
Like if I'm playing with Ringworm, I got like that sound of that song going into my head before I even hit the notes.
Right. Okay.
And same with Maiden Voyage. I try not to rely too much on the memory, but it's more of
just
the
feel,
ear.
Feel
the
and,
feel in the ear.
No doubt.
It sounded weird.
Dude, it's you say it so nonchalantly, like, it's just what I do, and there are a million musicians. Look, I tried to be a musician, and I really tried, and failed as miserably as anybody could, playing 4/4 drum beats to AC/DC covers. To be able to play such different variety and at a high level. I mean, as well as anybody, you could easily pack up your shit, go to L.A., and be making a lot of money being a session guy because you've got that kind of talent, and the ability to switch from band to band like this showcases that talent.
That's all I do. All I do is play music and listen to music, so that makes it easy.
So are you still active with Ringworm now?
Oh, yeah. We just got back last night from a 2-week tour with a Havoc and Mobile Death Camp.
Okay.
It was really good tour.
I love those guys in Havoc.
Yeah, great guys.
Dirty Sanchez is the guy, man. he's a fun dude, man. So,
well, what's your preferred style of hard rock or metal? Is it the more melodic stuff, or is it like the doomy stuff, or is it the more thrashy stuff? What do you prefer? Well, if you had a say, hey, I this is my favorite. I like these other things, but this is really my groove. This is what I like the most. What's
probably
your style?
like more of the between melodic and thrash, classic kind of stuff. Like I love Maiden, but I love Metallica, old Metallica.
You had to make that clear, Chris.
Everybody always throws it in. Not that new shit now. That old
I mean,
Metallica.
some of that new stuff is good, but I always go listen to those first 3 records all the time. But I also like a lot of power metal. I get a lot of flack for that, but that's what I like.
Sure.
And, so definitely, melodic, fast.
Just classic metal. You like the classic metal sound.
High pitched screamers.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's what we call classic metal.
Right,
Sure. Yeah.
And yet you've found a way to work with guys that are so far from that, whether it's Human Furnace or whether it's Chuck.
Yeah.
Very far away from that, kind of eccentric guys. Is it difficult when you have the passion for that sound to work with guys that are clearly almost pushing that sound away from them?
No, because those guys are into some of that stuff too.
Okay.
So it's not like I'm in some kind of Alien or something like that, but it's I don't know. That's probably why I play in a lot of different bands.
Right, okay.
Because I don't like. I have to, if I'm not getting it here, I want to try to get it here, or get us from here, And as long as it's not, as long as I can keep 100% going to each of those bands,
Right.
then it's fine.
Okay.
When it starts to, then I'll trim down the
Right, trim
fat.
down the list.
yeah.
Well, Chris brought up a good point about guys who are talented and their ability to be almost chameleon-like to change different things. Would that be something of interest to be a session guy, or would that be boring for you to be the guy to go into the studio and knock out some tracks for this band or
I do that.
Yeah.
I do that. Yeah, not necessarily a lot with metal, but I mean I record a lot with other metal bands,
right?
That I'm in. But I mean it'd be fun if I can get to work. Yeah, I'll do that.
Well, would you ever consider, as Chris just kind of said, like if you lived in L.A. where there's a lot of recording studios, or New York or something like that, to be the guy on call? Kind of, I don't know if you ever seen the documentary called The Wrecking Crew.
Yeah.
Be one of those type of people. Would that be interesting enough for you to do that, or would that be boring?
No, not boring at all. I mean, all types of music is great. Any type of creativity is, not boring. Yeah.
I think just as long as you're not stuck in an office, I think you're fine, right?
Exactly. As long as I can get work. I mean, 'cause the whole thing is trying to survive as a musician. If that's all you do, you got to find clever ways of how to sneak in somewhere here and there. And that's why, I don't ever want to stop playing.
I don't blame you. I mean, you got a 30-year legacy behind you. It's not like you're gonna put on a suit and tie and take an office job. It's just like, hey, this is what I do. This is, I'm, time has put its stamp on me, so this is what I do till I die.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's hard to find suits.
Men's Warehouse.
I can't seem to find one that fits.
Very nice.
Tie goes over my belly.
Nice. Well, Ed, man, it's good seeing you
Yeah,
as always,
thanks, man.
dude, man.
Thanks
It's
for having
always
me.
fun to have you come out. And what are we gonna play, Neely? Some
I thought
Ringworm
I'd
to
play
go
some
out?
Ringworm. I'd
All
play
right.
some Apparition.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
So what can you tell us about this? Anything in particular? The song?
Check out the video.
Check out the
That's
video
all you
for-
need to know.
All right. Perfect. All right. Well, here's Ringworm with Apparition exclusively here.
on your
Oh,
press-
wait. I thought acquiescence or apparition?
Apparition.
Oh, no. I know nothing about that song.
Nice. Well, we're gonna play it anyway. How's that?
Okay, let's go.
Obviously, you're most well known for your time in Mushroomhead, and certainly since we're out here doing the Cleveland metal scene, one of the biggest Cleveland metal bands, not only in Cleveland but to come out of Cleveland. So talk a little bit about your time in the band and your rise, right up through when you left.
Yeah, it was really cool. I mean, played Europe many times. The first time we went there, our very first show was at Castle Donington as a part of Ozfest, and I always dreamed of that place when I was coming up through the ranks. And then been to Australia a couple times, and right before I left, we played Moscow. And I can remember when I used to daydream of getting to New York or LA, and to really play around the world is pretty amazing. And yeah, I believe so. And it's just really cool to live your dream and just have fans from all over the world singing along with you as you sing. And I don't really plan on stopping anytime soon, even though my project right now is strictly studio.
Right.
If supply and demand calls for it, we'll have it out touring.
Right. No question, man. When you look back at those days, man, at the old days, do you a lot of people have said a million things about your band, as you're well aware, but the one thing that I think you taught all of Cleveland as a band was how to merchandise. While a lot of people will always say Slipknot, Mushroomhead, blah blah blah, I would say the better comparison would be more toward Kiss, just because you actually proved that even on an independent level, you guys could really dominate on as a marketing band. It was I mean, the music was cool, the music was always good, but the the marketing was so far ahead of everybody else on the local scene.
Yeah, I think it's really important to have as many visuals available as you can on as many different products. I mean, to have a concert shirt out's great, but we had 5 different hoodies at some points, and just a visual band, especially, just put every member you can on a shirt, because you never know what somebody's going to like. And I don't know. I think a big part of it comes from the DIY sense we always had of having somebody in the camp be able to do just about anything, and it just really caught fire at a good. I think a lot of bands could really do that. You just got to apply yourself.
Dave, looking at it today, man, Destructor is still, you guys are still pushing forward. How much of it today is for the love of it versus the drive of the old days to make it to that next level, to make it to that next thing?
It's 100%. At this point, we pay everything out of pocket. We do it for the love. We could have really just said to hell with it. And in the 90s, there was a time when we weren't doing anything. We were on hiatus.
Right.
It seemed like heavy metal in America was all but dead if it wasn't for bands like Pantera. And then the European scene, thank God, kept that alive and helped resurrect a lot of these bands. But, we still want to keep playing music. We still have a lot of great songs and ideas in our heads. And as long as we're capable of doing it, we want to. It's purely for the love of the music. And the way I always look at it is it's not what I'm going to get from it right now. It's what I'm going to leave behind, and what sort of legacy will there be a couple generations or on down the road of some young kids picking up the music and going, wow, that was some great stuff, man. These guys were awesome. And, that's kind of the way we look at it with our heroes from the 70s and the 60s, that music that we listen to that no longer are able to do it.
Well, outside of Cleveland there, Dave, what's the future hold for Destructor? I mean, do you have any overseas plans, say like in 2020, anything on the table that you could tell us about?
I don't have anything concrete that I can say anything about. Usually when bands do that, nothing comes to fruition. But Destructor does have another record ready to be recorded. Right now, unfortunately, our fantastic and crazy drummer, Matt Flammable, just had knee replacement surgery. And so we're waiting for Matt to recuperate. We're going to start recording the brand new Destructor record in 2020, early winter. And some of you may know I started a solo project of sorts called Vulgar Devils.
Right.
And we already have half of that recorded. And when Matt's back, we're going to finish recording the second half of that. Now, we've recruited Nate from Hostile Amish, and we got Brooke Damage from the early Destructor days, and also he played with Breaker for years. And we actually, with Vulgar Devils and with Destructor, one thing that we have is we have a real family. The guys really enjoy each other. We love making music together. We bust balls like the old days. And, sure, it's work because, we have to work jobs and maintain our lives and our families and homes and whatnot. But we all do this for the love of it. And I feel like both bands are in a really good place right now because we're making some great music. By the time the people hear the new stuff, they're going to be like, they haven't lost anything. If anything, they're going to be like, wow, hopefully be blown away by it. And that's the reward that I'm looking for when the product finally comes out and people wrap their ears around it and they realize these guys are unrelentless and they're still at it and seemingly unstoppable. And whatever tour opportunities in European shows or Japan or maybe someday South America. If those things happen, that would be the icing on the cake for us.